Hello everyone, Xeno What If here. To bring in part 7 of What If the Reds and Blues were part of Overwatch. Link down in the description of the fan fiction of this, What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this isn't a scam. Chapter 14. Welcome aboard the Psycho Express. Junker Town. Tucker, Caboose, and Bridget had disguised themselves as Junker Town residents. Tucker wearing torn-up clothing mixed with brown leather material. Caboose wore a broken-down and cracked motorcycle helmet and old rusted-down metal pads for armor. Bridget put on her ironclad skin to throw many people off as she looked like many of them. They walked up to the gates which were locked and only exclusively letting people in. But Tucker was skilled in this area. When it came to club admission and reading people, he was the king. When he arrived at the giant gate, he was stopped by a large-nosed man with face markings on him. "Sorry mate, can't let you go until I ask you why you're here," he said. Tucker smiled. "Sure, no problem," he said. For the beginning he didn't have an answer until out of the corner of his ear he heard a few people mention the gladiator fights. His answer was found. "We're here to see the gladiator fights," Tucker answered. The man then smiled. "Oh right. I hear the Queen is putting the original champion against the new champ she found in the outback. Enjoy the slaughterhouse," he said with a nod. Tucker, Caboose and Bridget were now passing through the city with minimal difficulty going through the streets. The outside was barren, while the inside looked as though there was nothing holding the city together. Sheets of metal, wood, and possibly even cardboard were seen as walls for buildings. It was as though Junker Town was a different world entirely. Even the people there were strange and unusual in their own way. People of different sizes and shapes were usual, however not quite like this. Their clothing all had the same Mad Max look on them, but it makes sense being raised in this apocalypse. Luckily, language wasn't a problem because Tucker found a place where he knew he'd get his information from. A bar that led to an underground area, where there were only a few patrons in the room, about 3 at total. Tucker got Bridget and Caboose a booth. "Wait here, I'll see what information I can get," Tucker said. Tucker first walked up to an older gentleman. "Excuse me, sir, I was just wondering if you've seen anyone new come into the city." "I'm looking for a friend," he asked. The man looked up from his glass. "Sorry, can't say that I have," the man answered, scratching his white beard. Tucker left and went for the next target, a young woman who looked tired. "Excuse me miss, have you seen this man?" Tucker asked, showing her a picture of church. The woman looked at the picture. "Nah mate, apologies," she said as she went back to her drink. Tucker then went to the bartender as 2 more men came in, one scrawny pirate, and one large man in a pig mask. The 2 went to the bar counter. "Oi, mate, what you got?" the scrawny one asked. The bartender was cleaning a mug with the dirty rag he had. "We have beer and what counts for whiskey." "Beer," the big one said. "Same as him," the scrawny man said. As the bartender disappeared, Tucker entered the scene. "Rough day fellas?" he asked. "Tell me about it. Biggest score of our lives, and some bloke robs us blind. That was a few weeks ago and we still haven't found anything," the scrawny man said. "Damn, that sucks. Hope you find what was taken," Tucker said. "Call me Tucker. They call me Junkrat. My pal here is called Roadhog." Junkrat introduced. "Yeah, if you find our friend, let us know." "What was the guy's name?" "Something religious." "Chapel, shrine, church," Roadhog corrected. "His last name was Church, his full name was Leonard Leroy Church." As Tucker heard this, his face began to lie as he grew a normal smile, but underneath was pure anger. He then pulled out his picture to show them something. "Did he look something like this?" Tucker asked, showing Junkrat the picture. Junkrat looked at the picture. "Holy shit, that's pretty accurate mate. How did you?" Junkrat paused as he put it together. Roadhog had his hook in hand as he automatically realized what this meant. "Where is he?" Tucker asked with a smile still on his face. "You think you're going to take our score we worked hard for?" Junkrat asked, placing his hand flat out as he leaned against the bar. "I'll ask again," Tucker said as he stabbed his sword through Junkrat's hand, connecting it to the table. "Where's my friend, you son of a bitch?" Tucker asked. Roadhog hooked Tucker's neck with his hook. "Bad move pal," he said through his muffled. Suddenly a large truck of a man saved Tucker by charging Roadhog into the bar stand. The savior was Caboose as he held Roadhog by the throat and demanded questions. Pig. Cowboy. Where's my best friend? He asked in a terrifying tone to each of them. I told you, I don't know, some fucker took him. Junkrat said again. Who took him? Tucker asked again. I don't know. Some large asshole kicked Rhodey off the bike then drove off. Spoke like a lunatic. Junkrat kept saying. That really narrows it down. Tucker said sarcastically, knowing that information lead to the entire living population of Australia. Note. Not discriminating Australians or Australia. In Overwatch lore, Australia is a wasteland. I find Australia actually beautiful. Junkrat continued, he wore the same mask I put on church though, strange. He said. Tucker stopped, what mask? He asked slower. The mask church had, all painted orange, yellow and white, massive air filter, and it was missing. Junkrat listed the details. Quote. An eye hole, the left one if I'm correct. Tucker asked, hoping the answer was no. Yeah, how'd you know? Junkrat asked. But Tucker knew what this meant. Oh shit, Caboose, we got to go now. Tucker said as they began to walk up the stairs from the bar. Tucker, what's wrong? Caboose asked. It's worse than I thought, but now we can narrow down our search. Tucker said as they reached the top floor, we just need to get out then we're. Tucker slowed as they made it outside. Unfortunately, the law of Junkertown was right in their face, with rusty but effective weaponry. Yeah, that seems about right. Tucker said as he turned towards the group and was struck in the back of the head. When Tucker came to, Tucker, Caboose and Bridget were now placed on their knees as they were presented before the Queen of Junkertown. Tucker had just barely came to as he saw her. At that moment a question ran through his mind, why is every female character in Overwatch hot? Caboose had an angered look on, Bridget had on a serious but concerned face on, while Tucker had a tired expression on. The Queen of Junkertown stood before them, walking around them all while they were forced to kneel. She carried a long rusty sword and held it in front of them. Before he made out what she said, he saw she had hot pink hair, a black mark running from eye to eye over her hazel eyes. Her gear was no different than any of the other Australians' gear, brown leather with spikes on the shoulders, but she wore a crown that looked like it was made of brass, trying to pass off as gold. She spoke with a heavy accent, all right boys, fun's over. Now what brings you to show up here and begin to start stirring trouble up? She says as she waves her rusty blade in front of Tucker. Just looking for a friend, ma'am, we didn't intend to start a fight with some of your subjects. Tucker said. Well, that's a likely story. Oi, who did they fight? The Queen asked. One of the guards surrounded them, held up two wanted posters of the ones called Roadhog and Junkrat. The Queen's smile, those two were let back into the city. She asked, and you've fought them? She then asked the group laying at her feet. Yes, Your Majesty. Tucker said, hoping his charm would save them. The Queen continued to walk back and forth between the two of them. I can't tell whether to slap you for letting them go or to kiss you for fighting them. She responded. With all due respect, we really need to head back on our way to find our friend. Bridget said as she leaned forward. The Queen puzzled for a moment, thinking of a way she could have benefited from this exchange. I'm not sure. She said, wandering around them. Caboose looked around as well until his eyes came across a poster of the gladiator fights entitled, Wrecking Ball vs. the Psycho. That's when the plan was made. Wait, I have an idea. Caboose suggested. The Queen looked at the large man-child, and what is that? She asked. Caboose paused for a moment, let me into the gladiator fights. If I win you let us leave and give us some help. Caboose answered. The Queen raised a brow, interesting, and if you lose? She asked. Caboose pondered on this for a moment in a way that won't hurt the team or the mission. If I lose, you take my gear and keep me prisoner. He said as he felt the chains on his arms grow heavier. Now this just got tempting. The Queen said, thinking for a moment, deal. She called out. With that all of them were hauled away to a cell near the arena, getting prepared for battle. The Queen informed one of her guards what to do, get the blood dome ready. And make sure the reigning champion is prepared for a fight. She demanded. Right away, ma'am, one of the 10 guardsmen replied. And the upcoming champion as well. The Queen added. The guards then halted for a short moment. Ah, Your Grace, are you sure you wish to bring him out as well? I mean, we wasted half of our tranks just getting him in the cage. He's killed one of our scouting parties. He's a monster. He said. Just what everyone wants to see. She said. 17 hours later. Caboose had finally gotten to the match of the arena. It was midday, the sun high above their heads. Cheers for blood shouted loudly throughout the crowds, making the strongest man there nervous. Bridget and Tucker finished putting on the last of Caboose's armor and equipment as he placed on his leather shoulder pads. Caboose carried a long claymore-style sword, holding it as though it weighed nothing. The tall warrior prepared to walk into battle using only his long sword and broad shield. As the warriors prepared to walk into the arena, the queen came forward with a microphone made of a can and different other parts. She spoke and everyone remained quiet. Wow, look at all of you, what a turnout. She said, warming them up, let's give a big round of applause for all our competitors who died today. But now, it's main event time. Making's his first appearance. I give to you all the new brute from the outside, looks intimidating, I'll say no more, Caboose the Destroyer. She said. But as Caboose walked out, he was met with boos and hateful words from the audience. However, that hadn't shook him, as he was more focused than ever in his fight for his friends. Alright, now ladies and gentlemen, the champion who won our hearts, the sphere of mass destruction, the risen hero of the arena. The wrecking ball. She called out as a giant robotic ball rolled from a ramp gaining incredible speed. It launched into the air and slammed into the ground, causing such an incredible quake in the floor. The ball then had transformed into a four-legged robot with machine guns mounted on the side. This mechanical masterpiece of mayhem was constructed and piloted by an overgrown hamster. Alright, this is it. Let's get ready to introduce this guy. The queen said eagerly as blasts of red confetti shot out of the cannons around the stage. He is a creature we found rampaging in the outback. Unlike any other, I feel a strong personal connection to him. The queen had said as the cell holding the creature shook furiously. Loud growls were heard as the metal box moved behind the wall it was placed at. He's the upcoming. He's the rising, she said as Caboose grabbed his sword and shield tight as he braced for what was to come. My subjects, I give to you, your psycho TICCCC. She shouted as the beast came out wearing no armor, only a mask Caboose recognized instantly. He carried one buzz axe and a bent, scratched piece of metal that seemed to be a sword. As the monster exited his cage, Caboose got excited. Yees. He shouted. A few crowd members were confused at this until Caboose went into detail. We know each other, he's my best buddy. Caboose said. Krieg looked everywhere around the arena as Caboose attempted to talk to him. Church, we've been looking everywhere for you. Oh man, not much has happened. Tucker got into trouble, we stole a plane, visited Australia, and that's how I found you. Caboose noticed that Church or Krieg wasn't paying attention as he looked around the arena almost as though he was searching for something. Hey Church. Caboose called out. Krieg looked back at Caboose. No Church. Only monster. The true Krieg had called out. Caboose then realized the situation he was placed in as himself, the champion, and the psycho were in, oh crap baskets. Caboose said. Chapter 15. One falls, one lives, one is lost. The arena. Caboose realized that there was only one way to get his best friend back. And that was to knock some sense into him, literally. Caboose on one side, Church on another, and the wrecking ball in the last corner. The three waited for one or the other to make a move. The monster controlling Church known as Krieg went straight to wrecking ball, axe blade spinning towards the bot. The ball rolled out of the way as the axe and its owner slammed to the ground. The ball then went out of its shell as Church was prying his axe out of the ground. Match and guns out, prepared to fire. Until the wrecking ball was rammed by Caboose, charging him all the way to the floor. Difference from Caboose and Reinhardt. Caboose bear hug, charges enemy people, and on contact rushes them to the floor and can get in 3 punches that can do up to 50 damage for each punch. Think the assassin but a 400 pounds truck of muscles. Caboose punched the middle eye part of the bot as he heard Krieg sprinting towards him. So he lifted the ball and hurled it in Krieg's direction, which bounced away as Krieg deflected it. Krieg leapt at Caboose with the spiraled axe as Caboose brought his shield up. The axe penetrated the shield and nearly cut Caboose's arm. Krieg, you're embarrassing me, I told them we were friends. Caboose said as he and Krieg held their place. The wrecking ball recovered and bashed the two in lock into a wall of the stadium. More gunfire from the hamster came targeting Caboose as Caboose put his shield up. Krieg moved out of the way into cover behind some of the debris in the field. It was then he had heard a voice call out to him, one he hated. "What the hell are you doing?" the voice asked. Krieg grabbed the sides of his head. "Arg, shut up," he shouted. "No, this wasn't part of the deal, remember?" the voice in Krieg's mind interrogated. Krieg looked at his makeshift sword and glanced at the reflection, but to his surprise, instead of seeing a maniac drenched in blood, he saw the face of Church look at him with disappointment. "The deal was I bring you out to protect the innocent and punish the deserving," Church said to the monster. Krieg put both hands on his ears. "Quiet noises, get them out. I'll strangle the whispers out of you with a bone saw," he shouted in hopes that the voice would stop. "You can't get rid of me that easily. Now do we have a deal, or will I have to end this the one way I know how?" "You know I can do it, too," Church said. "Get out of my head," Krieg pleaded to the voice. "I'll take that as a yes," Church said as he disappeared. Krieg returned to the fight as he saw Caboose's shield nearly burning up to the point of glowing red hot. Caboose looked around for some sign of cover as his shield was reaching the point of being too hot to hold. The gunfire ceased as Krieg had returned to the fray and planted his axe blade into the machine. Krieg now had the tank right where he wanted it as he began to slash furiously through the metal plating. The ball fired multiple rounds into Church's body, but the bloodlust-filled rage pumping through Krieg was much stronger than anything else. As the pieces of shrapnel, iron plating, and lubrication fluids came flying out of the machine itself, Krieg kept hacking and slashing. Once his arms grew tired for a moment, it seemed as though he was done. The bot was nearly in pieces and Krieg was almost riddled with bullets. Krieg pulled out a yellow glowing needle, and injected it into his neck. He was brought back from near death. But the robot wasn't done. A chirp was heard and a monotone voice was followed. "Area denied," it said. Krieg was now surrounded by a minefield that would go off in seconds. He got to his knees knowing he'd survive this. As the bombs went off, the smoke rose and out from it rose the monster known as Krieg. He escaped unharmed. Proud, he went over to Caboose to find the reason he lived through this. Caboose was beaten and bruised by the bombs. Krieg saw the ultimate at work. Caboose took the full force of the minefield to protect Church. "You did it, Church," Caboose smiled as he coughed through the pain. "You did," Caboose said as he finally closed his eyes. Krieg saw the light inside of Caboose going dim, but he wouldn't let that happen. He pulled out a tube that was connected to two needles. He put one in himself and the other in Caboose. Caboose opened his eyes a little bit to see what Church and Krieg were doing for him. He then heard a bit of Church inside Krieg. "You don't deserve this, I do," he said. Church's last updated ability, Redeem the Soul, grants Church the ability to resurrect allies for 100 health while draining 100 of his health. The only exception is that he must be above 100 health, cooldown 45 seconds. Caboose blacked out as Church saved his life. Both the two men were now on the floor as all the crowd save the beast save the stranger. Elsewhere, Torbjorn had asked Sarge for help as himself. Reinhardt and Sarge were now transporting a few files to go over. Just to see if Winston can make any connection that could help remember how Overwatch knew the director and any leads on talent. As they arrived at the empty office of Winston, one of the folders came out and showed a memory long forgotten. Sarge commented on the picture. "Hey, is that London During?" he asked. "Aye, we were sent to retrieve survivors who were running out of time as the null sector was closing in," Torbjorn said. "Yes, now that was a battle that I will not soon forget." Reinhardt began. "They had everything, we were but a small team of 4. We were surprised to know that they had so much resistances," Reinhardt said. "Well, I'm surprised actually, the way you describe it, y'all should have had it easy," Sarge said. Torbjorn grew confused about that comment, considering what they actually had to fight through. "Hey, why do you think it would be easy for us?" Torbjorn asked. "Well, I only say that because most of the fighting happens on the front lines, correct?" Sarge asked. "Ah, this is true, Torbjorn. The front lines are where you charge into. That is where the best part of battle is," Reinhardt said. "Hell, I should know, I was on the coast when the fighting occurred," Sarge finally said. "Wait, what?" Torbjorn asked. "I was on the coast charging Null Sector's forces," Sarge answered. This is the end of part 7 of this What If. I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe to my channel.